Hello, Indesa members, and welcome to this webinar broadcast that is all about SOBRsafe, one of our new preferred providers. I'd like to welcome Michael Watson and Rob Gandini today from SOBRsafe, and I'm going to interview Michael so that we can hear all about this product, how it can help us with workplace safety, and share with you all of the exciting things that this product can do, as well as the member benefit that they offer to Indesa. So, Michael, welcome. It's so good to see you this morning.
Thank you. It's good to see you too, Joe.
And so we met, what, about 6 months ago, I want to say, or
That's
so?
perfect. Just before the holidays.
Right. And so you guys were calling around, and when you called me, I said, I have seen that technology, but a while back. Is it actually working? and and you said, what? Yeah, of course it's working. And so we started talking and chatting, and I'm very excited about what SOBRsafe is doing for workplace safety and for employee screening. But we decided to do a little bit of a demonstration on one of our town halls, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But first, what I'd like you to do is introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be with SOBRsafe.
Yeah, so I've spent my career in the marketing business and worked at a variety of marketing firms, including owning one of my own firms here in the Michigan market. And last year, I was introduced to the leadership team at SOBRsafe. And I will say that the product, it was so new and different and exciting that I really had to think about it. I thought, geez, if you detect alcohol in the workplace, are people going to be upset with you, right? That was kind of my first thought. I'm happy to say that as we've launched the product into the marketplace, employees are very receptive. They've really embraced the product, and I think what we've learned is maybe the problem of drinking alcohol in the workplace is larger than people realize. And the people, excuse me, that are in the workplace that aren't drinking, they know the people that are,
Right.
and but they're never going to say that to anybody else. So really what this does is it gives employers an opportunity by testing everybody every day to just level the playing field, and we don't need to have whistleblower programs or anything of that nature. So I've been pleasantly surprised at how well received the product is in the marketplace, and been proud to be part of the team launching the product into the market as well.
You know, everything that you said right there is so valuable. First of all, and I don't know which to attack first, but there is a code of silence. And the code of silence is because you value your own quality of work life and personal welfare, and you don't want to become that person. And it really is like a high school environment, but it's true. It carries over into work life. And I mean, I know people in my life that stood up for an issue that wasn't drug or alcohol related and became a target. So we have that, but you also mentioned that you think that drinking is more prevalent. I got to tell you, Mike, you are so right. I've been in this industry for over a decade, and when I have the opportunity to teach reasonable suspicion training to employers, and I say to them, if you have an employee that's coming in hungover, more often than not, likely they will blow positive on a test because they're retaining that alcohol and not eliminating it as fast as they think. So it is an issue, and I don't want to jump ahead of us. We have so much to talk about today. But then we also have the issue, in addition to this, that during COVID, and we all met up just right. I don't want to say the tail end of COVID. We're still in the pandemic, but I think now they're calling it an endemic. But we kind of met at the tail end of, we're all masking and socially distancing and all of that stuff. So we know that we have seen an impact from the pandemic of not just employees drinking on their own time, but employees working from home, day drinking. It's been a joke across all media platforms of, having your noon glass of wine on the company meeting. It's become almost a socially acceptable thing. The problem is we're seeing tons of substance use disorder rise to the surface, become prevalent, and surges like we haven't seen in decades, not just of alcohol, but also of opiates. But we've got to start somewhere, and this is really where we should start. Is that what
Right.
you're seeing as well?
Yeah, in fact, we have a slide here that illustrates some of the statistics from the pandemic. Um, the real truth is that 60% of Americans have increased their drinking uh, daily during the pandemic. A lot of that has to do, I think, with people working from home. But what's even more um, alarming is the fact that such a large percentage of those participants are, or of those workers are binge drinking as well.
Mhm.
So our device detects alcohol in the workplace. Rob, could you move the slide to the slide on COVID? So a lot of those increases that happened during COVID, I think, are related to the fact that people were working from home. But there was just that overall anxiety that was built up in America as well. And so it's not just a, a matter of an increase in drinking. I mean, it's also evidenced by the drinking sales. Drinking sales, the sales of alcoholic products has gone up tremendously, over $10 billion. And um, even the increase in the number of liver damage referrals to hospitals has increased during the pandemic period. So it's a real problem in America.
Wow, those are some striking numbers to look at that screen right there and see just the reality just hitting us. Amazing that this is what we're seeing. In Colorado during the pandemic, it was quite telling that the marijuana dispensaries throughout the state, whether for medical or recreational adult use, were considered essential personnel and allowed to remain open when many other businesses were told they couldn't open during the lockdown.
Right.
And what we saw was like an emergency implementation of home delivery.
Hmm.
Well, I didn't realize or understand at the time that alcohol home delivery was already in full swing. And I only mention this to say that we we have been kind of promised in Colorado for almost a decade now that if you'll legalize marijuana, alcohol consumption will go down because marijuana is a safer alternative. Now, there's no data to back that up. It's really a marketing campaign. As a marketing guy, I'm sure you can appreciate the brilliance of that strategy.
Right.
um, but there's no evidence or science that says that's actually true. However, what we've seen is alcohol consumption increase during that time, not go down. And it was not just the pandemic, it was pre-pandemic. So I think that what we're seeing is just increases all around us because people struggle to cope. And as you mentioned, times of stress and these things increase alcohol use. And so I, let's talk about real quickly. First of all, we're going to get to the technology. We're going to talk about a few other things, but when you brought this in and said, we'd love to show you how this works, and fortuitously, Rob, your associate, lives in Colorado, just an hour or two up the road from me. So during Christmas Eve, we decided to get together on one of our weekly town halls and do a demonstration. And Rob and I had some celebratory hot toddies just to celebrate the holiday. And we did this live on town hall with our audience there. And so I got approval from my board of directors and said, my coworkers here were fully supervised. But what we did is we tested the product to get a baseline measurement and then to have a drink and then see what would happen, how long it would take to read, how long the product would read, and what that would look like. And I was so surprised by the rapidity of the measurement, by the accuracy of the measurement with a fingerprint. And so some folks may think we've been talking about a new breath alcohol device, but we're talking about technology that I think is revolutionary and something that is very exciting and interesting. So this is what we're in for this presentation, is Michael to tell us all about this and show us and demonstrate how the machine works to us.
Sure.
But let's talk about, first of all, go back to this conversation, is that, you know, while we have seen this increase, I'm just still so shocked by these numbers. I'm looking here, like the 41% increase in heavy drinking among women. I mean, as a woman, that just really gets me, because I'm like, those are, moms and, business executives and people that are going out, that we need input in the workplace. And so it's just really blowing my mind. So I'm trying to get past that for a minute, and the liver damage. And I will tell you, I haven't shared this with you before, but over the last 2 months, I've been dealing with a former coworker that I worked with in the drug and alcohol testing arena when I very first started in my first job. And she called me up out of the blue, and she's a medical person. She's in a medical field, working at the time in a hospital, and she had gone on a drinking binge. And I tell you, I had to rush her to the emergency room. I went to her home. I had never seen anything like that. Someone who drank so heavily for 10 days that I thought she was going to have a seizure, because she tried to stop drinking by herself for 24 hours. And it's been a month of not being able to get this under control and trying to get her into rehab. And I finally just had to step back from it and sort of hand it over to the family. But when I asked her why, and this is why I'm bringing this up, because I asked her why she was drinking outside of work, not on the job, which really is a miracle at the level that she was at. But she just checked out of work, lost her job, didn't show up for 10 days. And I asked her why, and she just really said, I don't know why. Um, and I think there are reasons why, obviously, clearly, but it's not just on the job, it's also outside of work hours as well. But it's vice versa. So can you talk a little bit about what your research has found in this regard?
Yeah, so we have another, if we go to the statistics on the workplace slide, I can talk about that a little bit, and I'll also show the product as well, so that we aren't continuing to tease everybody any longer. But the problem you mentioned is real in the workplace. Our device does test people at the entry point to the workplace, and if you were just having a couple of glasses of wine at dinner the night before, or a couple of beers after work the day before, you're not going to be detected for alcohol. It will leave your system. Alcohol generally leaves your system about 4 hours after you stop drinking, depending on severity. Of course, as you've mentioned, with binge drinking, the alcohol stays in your system much longer. And if people are drinking till early in the morning, say 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then still ringing the bell at work at 6 or 7, the likelihood of them still having alcohol in their system is real. And when we look at the statistics, 11% of workplace fatality victims tested positive for alcohol in this country. That sounds like maybe a small number. It's still a tragic number. But if you look at the top number, 47% of workplace injuries are linked to alcohol. So that means that, when there's an incident at work, obviously everybody is generally tested. That's the general procedure in corporate America today. And with almost it's almost half of the work-related injuries are alcohol related. And so with only 11% of the victims drinking, which means that, there's a fear factor amongst the rest of the staff, because they know that if people are drinking, that puts everybody at danger. Obviously, there's a huge cost to employers as well. A lot of the injuries will be less tragic than fatal, but there's still a cost to them, and the cost is real. What's really alarming is the number of drivers, commercial drivers in America. 13% of commercial drivers test positive for alcohol nationwide, and that number has increased again during the pandemic. So it's a real problem. But that kind of leads into how the device works. If I could just take a minute and I'll put it up on the screen here. This is called the SOBRcheck device. And you can see it's designed to be at the entry point of a building. It connects to the internet via Wi-Fi or through an Ethernet connection. And the software that it's attached to is in the Microsoft Azure cloud. So everything is very secure from a HIPAA compliance standpoint. The way the device works, the first time you use it, you register your fingerprint through the biometric reader here. And then every time you use it, that takes about 40 seconds. So it's a lot easier than doing the fingerprint on your phone, actually. It just takes 3 touches the first time you use it. After that, there could be devices at any entry point to the building. They'll all have everybody's information loaded into them. You put your hand on the device, it scans your index finger for your biometrics, and then it scans your middle finger for alcohol. And as we drink, alcohol is exhaled in every pore of our body, including our fingertips. And you'll see that it registered a green light, which shows that I'm alcohol free right now. And if I had alcohol in my system, it would have displayed a red light. And we can also run the device without the lights flashing. So we can run it in what's called an incognito mode. And that would be in the case where you have a bunch of people coming through the entry point to work, and you don't want somebody to see somebody else's test result, if you will.
So you keep it anonymous, but someone on a computer getting the reading.
But in either case, if you test positive for alcohol, your supervisor and the HR department will receive a text message and an email immediately saying that you tested positive. At that point, the company can enter into their alcohol detection protocol. We always suggest treat everybody innocent until proven guilty. There is a possibility you could have a false positive, although we train people when we launch the product on things that would cause that so that they don't do that. And people are very compliant. Within a couple of days, everybody really gets on board. It's really a nice thing to see. But typically what a company will do is have them come down to HR, ask them if they've been drinking. If they say no, let them rescan again and see if it was a false positive. And if it was a false positive, they test negative the next time, they can simply go into our portal online and clear out that positive test and mark it as a false positive. Generally, companies, once somebody tests positive twice, they'll use a secondary method of testing just to verify, kind of, start to create a paper trail, if you will. So they might have a breathalyzer that they give the person, or a saliva test, which would be a validation of our test. And then typically they take them, have somebody take them to the clinic for further blood screening, and in addition to alcohol, they'll be testing for other drugs. And since a lot of drug users will use alcohol as well, that process ends up capturing a lot of people that will test positive for other drugs as well. So that's how it works in a nutshell. It really is that simple. And what we found is that after we launched the product in the workplace, it takes about 2 days for people to become used to the process. And one of the questions I always get is, would alcohol-based hand sanitizer trigger the device? And the answer is yes. Alcohol is alcohol. So we train people not to do that right before you come into the workplace. And we even provide non-alcohol based hand sanitizer, which is just as effective from a germ killing perspective. And we also advise people don't use hand creams that have alcohol in them, or aftershave products right before you test. And it takes about a couple of days, and people get on board. Nobody wants to have a false positive and go down to the HR department.
They figure it out. Well, you answered some questions that I was going to ask you already, but that was such a great explanation, and I love the applications. And of course, for our audience, we want to make clear this is obviously for non-DOT purposes, yes. But the majority of who we test is non-DOT. So DOT is within a specific box of, parameters of testing. But for your non-DOT testing, Mike, this obviously has tons of applications. What types of industries are you prioritizing here?
Yeah, so we've put a couple of slides together here that have some case study information. If we can move to the first case study here. This is really a company that we launched in Colorado. It's an Amazon last mile delivery partner. So Amazon's outsourced a lot of their most of their home delivery. So most of the people coming to our houses now actually work for an independent company. And we were approached here by a client who wanted to create a safety program and really make sure that they had an alcohol-free workforce. They did have a suspicion that some of the drivers may have at some time been under the influence, but it's very difficult to detect. And it's also one of those very tricky situations where if you call somebody out for a random under reasonable suspicion and you're wrong, it can cause problems in the workplace. So another reason that people love this product is it really levels the playing field, and it takes the finger pointing away or the accusations that somebody might say, well, you're discriminating against me because I have long hair or whatever. Those kind of things go by the wayside. If you go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about how it was launched. So it's real important to give the right message to the employees when we do this. We don't want it to be put across as Big Brother. We're not the police. We're really a safety product. We're there to create a safer work environment. And really, you'll see as we go through this product and our other products that our goal is really to save lives with this program. And that's what we recommend communicating to the workplace is, there's finally a way to very quickly, hygienically test everybody every day to make sure we have an alcohol-free work environment. The result of that is that our clients are receiving tremendous insurance discounts. The insurance carriers are really, they've been waiting for something like this to come along because, of course, they have to pay the claims for all those accidents that we talked about a little while ago.
Wow, that's amazing right there. That's amazing.
Yeah. And if we go to the next slide, Rob, what we did is we instructed people on how to use the device. The training, like I mentioned earlier, takes about a day to get people in the loop. And it's very simple. We have videos that we've produced to help people with the training, as well as we, in this situation, sent our people on staff, our staff people on site to help with the onboarding of this particular client. What was amazing, Joe, is that after we registered people the first day, on the second day, we were registering people for 2 days because there were different shifts. And on the second day, people from the first day were coming and saying, we want to scan today. How come we're not scanning today? They were anxious to use it, but I think really they were anxious for everybody to use it because within a few weeks, what happened is there were the 2 or 3 people that were suspected eventually showed up and tested positive for alcohol.
Absolutely. Michael, I find that the culture that you create in the workplace is so important. And I often teach policy writing workshops for companies to help them understand that the drug and alcohol policy is your safety policy. It's, people sometimes think, oh, I have to deal with this drug policy, and they don't want to do it, and they put it off, and they try to avoid, rocking the boat. But when we approach it, that safety is the key, and you understand exactly what you just said, that if you create a safety culture and you also have the employees who don't partake in substances want to be protected and kept safe and secure and also have a productive work environment from those who choose to abuse, it changes everything. And it becomes positive reinforcement, exactly as you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened in this situation is, 2 of the people that tested positive admitted that they had been binge drinking and they didn't think that they would show positive the next day.
Well, you
Um,
know, and I want to, before you get to your takeaways, one thing that I want to just kind of reiterate, you know, you mentioned early on that it's not going to pick up, you know, like your glass of wine with dinner from the night before.
correct.
Um, and I really believe that we kind of have come full circle from the days when we taught kids in school DARE programs, and we taught college students, and we had campaigns, we had promos in bars and things about when are you safe to drive? You know, Mothers Against Drunk Driving really sort of perpetuated a lot of this education. And so I remember in the late 80s and early 90s specifically, like people pretty much knew what their limit was and where they needed to cut off so that they were safe to drive or get a designated driver or whatnot. Well, a lot of those programs lost funding, or they kind of fell by the wayside, or different things happened in the early 2000s. And I believe that we have an entire generation of young employees. They don't have a clue
Right.
that there's a difference between hard liquor and or a beer with dinner, or they don't understand that if they are, you know, drinking with their buddies, some hard liquor, throwing back shots or whatever during the game, Monday Night Football or whatever, um, that they can very easily be over the legal limit on their way to work on Monday or Tuesday morning. So I
Absolutely.
think a lot of it is education, but then, as you also just mentioned, some of it is the binge drinking and you know, helping someone to see that they've gotten out of control. It doesn't mean you always have to fire that person. Sometimes it's that safety net for them to go, oh my gosh, I think I've developed the problem and I don't want to be on this path, and helping them make better, healthier choices, right?
Right, for sure. And really, that is one of the big takeaways is that you do create a better culture for your organization, and you actually take some fear away from employees because the people that are not drinking, they like we talked about earlier, they know who the people are that are drinking, but they're afraid. They're afraid
Hmm.
to tell somebody about it, but they're also just afraid every day that they have to work with them and they might be in a compromised situation. But what happened in this particular case is that third individual continued to test positive and had to be released from the organization, which is not a happy ending, you know, for that individual.
Hmm.
But for the company, it really reduced a liability that they
Right.
had, that was an accident waiting to happen, as we know from the statistics. So that was a positive outcome there. And also another positive outcome for all the clients that we're launching with is the reduced insurance savings. We're seeing insurance savings between 15 and 25%. In fact, in the next case study, which we'll move to here quickly, in the interest of time, if we can go ahead 2 slides here. The the next case study is in the food service business. And this is a company that had 400 employees across 4 states. And they actually, a lot of those are drivers, and the balance of them are warehouse workers. And they really have an emphasis on safety within the organization, but they're also paying significant dollar amount in premiums for insurance. So they were looking for programs that would help decrease those costs. And what we were able to do, we originally projected that they would have savings of over $200,000 by implementing our product. They went through an entire process of shopping their insurance in the marketplace, and here are the results. Their total savings for a year were over $250,000. Now, obviously, there's a cost for implementing our device. We charge about $1 a day per employee, $30 a month per employee. And that's for everything. That's for as many devices are needed in the workplace. And if a device for any reason gets broken or fails, we'll overnight another device. We typically put multiple devices at an entry point so that there are no lines for people coming in. We want to make this as smooth as possible at the workplace. But the result, you know, in net savings is still over $100,000. But and you can see the numbers by category. The workers' comp savings are tremendous. You would think it would be mostly automobile, but it was mostly workers' comp. And I have the note at the bottom, let's not forget the intangibles. It's the things we're talking about. It's the improved culture. It's the reduced absenteeism. People are on time for work more if they're not under the influence. And by the way, they produce a better quality work product. So it's a win-win for everybody along the line. And we're very excited to be part of that in many different areas around the country.
Wow, those numbers tell the whole story, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And we're really excited about taking it a step further. So far I've been talking about what we call our Sober Check device, but I'd like to take a minute before we run out of time to talk about a new product that we're launching in July. It's called the SOBRsure product. And this is a prototype. The actual product will be, think of it as the really cool, sleek Fitbit product, right? So it doesn't have a face, but you wear it on your wrist just like a Fitbit. And what it does is it monitors you continuously for alcohol. And it also keeps track of your GPS location. And the way that works is it connects to your cell phone via Bluetooth and then reports that data back to the Microsoft Azure cloud, very secure. And then your company can see the results. So there are many places that can work. And since we've been talking about the fleet situation, with our Sober Check device, what the Amazon last mile delivery customer did is they had everybody test on the device before they got the keys for the vehicle every day. And then when they came back with the vehicle, they tested again to show that they were alcohol free throughout the day. Well, in the over-the-road trucking world, it's not possible. You'd have to have one of these devices in every truck, but enter the SOBRsure product, and now you can monitor employees continuously, and you would also be able to keep track of the location of your employees, which in essence keeps track of the location of your truck too. If you're a fleet manager, there's some side benefits to this as well. But we're launching this, as you'll see on the screen, initially in the teen driver market, which we're really excited about. We saw some of the statistics earlier about accidents in the workplace, but when we talk about the sad reality of teenage fatalities from teenage driving accidents, these are things that are avoidable. And the way we look at it is, if we can launch this to the parents of teenage drivers, we could save lives, and that means a lot to us. You can imagine if you have a 16-year-old that's just starting to drive and they want to go to the football game on Friday night, no problem, honey, you can have the car. We want to make sure that you're safe, so please wear this the whole time you're gone. And what this will do is it will report back to the parent's phone the alcohol status of their child. So green lights all night, everybody can feel good that your child is safe. If for some reason they took it off, you're going to get an alert that they took it off. And you'll also get their location as well. So if you need to call them or go pick them up or whatever, at least you have some information and it can be proactive in that manner.
I'm blown away again, because I'm thinking of the many applications, drug court, DUI offenders that are repeat offenders, custody cases. We see a lot in our industry. We test a lot of family court individuals who are trying to keep or maintain or get custody of their kids, and they have an issue, and so you're setting up these random drug test programs or even alcohol test programs. But something like this, wow, that could just really change the face of how we monitor.
It really can. And the other place we're excited, I'm most excited to introduce this product. As I mentioned, the teenage driving markets are primary. The fleet is secondary, also with the rehab market. Right. So if you can imagine, if somebody comes out of alcohol rehab and from an inpatient stay, and they can agree to wear this device, and the device is connected to their sponsor. You know, the problem that we hear from people in this space is recidivism is very high. People start to drink again at a very high percentage. It takes a few times sometimes to help somebody. And when they do, they don't really tell anybody about it, usually for a few weeks or a few months. And by that time, it takes longer to get them back on track. But if from the first drink, if their sponsor was notified because the device detected alcohol, imagine that sponsor could call and say, hey, John, what's going on? What are you dealing with today? I noticed that you've been drinking, you know, and then help that person get back on track right away. And so when you think about that and combine that with that teenage driver market, I think we at SOBRsafe, you know, our mission is really to build a safe and healthy work environment, but really to build a safer America and to save lives. That's really what we're all about.
And that is why we make great partners, because that is perfectly aligned with the mission statement of Endesa as well, is to look at the community and the workplace and families and how we can make a difference and save lives. So I am so excited that we found one another. It was so fortuitous. And so two things. First of all, tell us about the preferred provider benefit that you're offering Endesa members.
Yes, so we'll be at the conference coming up in May, and we are offering members a significant discount on the product. So they will get a 10% discount off of our normal pricing for any of the Endesa customers.
Mm-hmm. And that can be found on our website. Go to endesa.com and look at the preferred providers page, and you'll see the link to SOBRsafe and how to connect. And then you are our opening reception sponsor for the conference, the 2022 annual conference. And we are so thrilled about the fun that we're going to have there. Everyone knows that the opening welcome reception, we do serve adult beverages, and we all have a good time with that. And so SOBRsafe will be there. And tell us a little bit about what you've got planned.
Yes, we're going to register people for our device at the conference so they can see how it works firsthand. And we'll do that at the entry table when you first arrive. And then when you come to the cocktail party, the way you'll get your drink ticket is to scan on our device. So you'll be able to see firsthand how it detects alcohol. If you've had a couple of cocktails at another party before you come to this one, you'll test positive likely, or maybe not. You know, it takes a drink or two before you're detected. There is a threshold built in, but we'll go over all those details and be able to have some great one-on-one conversations with members and let them know how it works and how we can help them provide an alcohol-free work environment at their workplace.
Exactly. We are so looking forward to this. You know, this device has serious life-saving applications, and then more innovation is coming with SOBRsafe. But in addition, SOBRsafe has been a great partner looking at all of the right avenues and asking the right questions that we have for our industry. But as well, you're a fun group to work with, and I really enjoy every minute that I get to spend with you guys. So listen, I know Rob's been our silent partner running the slideshow. Mike, Rob, thank you so much for the time that you've put into this presentation today. It will be posted on the preferred providers page, admittedly after conference. And we want everyone to know what's going on. I will make it public before then, though, so people can see and look forward to what's coming. But thank you so much for taking this. We appreciate you, and we look forward to fun things to come ahead.
And thank you for everything that Endesa does.
Absolutely. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and make sure that you contact Mike or Rob at SOBRsafe via our website. And if you have any questions, Mike, how can they reach you? What is your email address?
It's michael.watson@sobrsafe.com, and SOBRsafe is SOBRsafe.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.